Welcome, dearest listener. You've wandered far enough to find me, Arabella Gingerie, the melody teller of the mirror realms. I greet you from a place between pages and prayers, between shadows and starlight. This tale you are about to read is not just a story. It is a whisper that refused to be forgotten, a light born from the ashes of silence. Let me guide you now to a realm where 3 moons no longer shine with joy, where the sun has long perished into ghostlight, and where a crimson-haired warrior named Seraphia dares to descend into the depths of the forbidden dungeon Abyssera, carrying with her a blade named Luminora, the blade of forgotten dreams. It hums with voices only she can hear. It remembers what the world chose to forget. And she, the wanderer, the Red Death, must choose not whether she will survive, but whether she is willing to burn, so that others may one day see. This is her tale. This is Luminora's whisper. Enter now, where darkness trembles, and hope dares to shine. The Luminora's Whisper, a tale of Seraphia the Wanderer. In the shadow realm of Umbracia, where 3 moons hung perpetually in twilight skies, there lived a warrior whose hair blazed crimson like dying stars. Her name was Seraphia, and upon her head she wore a scarlet beret passed down through generations of her bloodline. In her hands she carried Luminora, the blade of forgotten dreams. Its edge gleamed with ethereal cyan light that hummed with voices only she could hear. The city of Belladonna stood as the last bastion of humanity in this cursed world. Its towers spiraled upward in defiance of the darkness that crept ever closer. Stone and sorrow built those walls. Hope and desperation kept them standing. Seraphia walked those cobbled streets each morning, seeking work that might feed her and keep her sword sharp. She was known among the merchants and the desperate alike. They called her the Wanderer. They called her the Red Death. They called her many things, but never called her friend. On the day our tale begins, Seraphia stood before the Guild of Lost Causes. An old man with eyes like winter frost handed her a contract written on parchment that smelled of decay. The words spoke of Abyssera, the forbidden dungeon that lay beneath the city in depths no explorer had returned from in 300 years. Treasures awaited there, the contract promised. Answers to questions the world had forgotten to ask.
"Why me?" Seraphia asked. Her voice carried the weight of too many battles.
"Because you are already half dead inside," the old man replied. "What is there left for Abyssera to take from you?"
She took the contract. She took his coin. She did not take his pity. The entrance to Abyssera yawned like a wound in the earth beneath the oldest cathedral in Belladonna. Seraphia descended stone steps worn smooth by time and tears. Her boots echoed in the silence. Luminora pulsed with growing intensity, as if recognizing something ancient in the darkness ahead. The blade whispered to her in a language that predated words. It spoke of hunger. It spoke of waiting. It spoke of doors that should never open. The first level held nothing but bones and broken promises. Skeletons of adventurers past clutched rusted weapons and wore armor eaten through by centuries. Seraphia stepped over them without ceremony. Death was an old companion. She granted it no special reverence. The second level breathed. The walls themselves seemed to expand and contract with invisible lungs. Bioluminescent fungi grew in patterns that hurt to observe too long. They pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. When she reached out to touch one, it recoiled, and the entire chamber shuddered, as if in pain or pleasure. She did not touch them again. The third level sang. Crystals jutted from floor and ceiling in impossible geometries. When Luminora's light touched them, they resonated with haunting melodies. The sword's cyan glow intensified. The crystal song grew louder. Seraphia felt her bones vibrate with frequencies that unraveled thought. She pressed forward through the symphony of madness until her ears bled and her vision swam.
The fourth level tested her. Shadows took form and attacked with claws made of absence. Seraphia fought them with Luminora blazing like a star. Each shadow she cut screamed with voices she recognized. Her mother, her sister, the boy she loved when she was young and foolish enough for love. The blade drank their essence and grew brighter still. Seraphia's tears fell, but her hands never wavered. "I am sorry," she whispered to the darkness. "I am so very sorry." The darkness did not answer. The darkness never does. The fifth level did not exist in the way the others had. When Seraphia stepped through the archway at the bottom of the fourth level, she found herself nowhere and everywhere at once. Space folded in on itself. Time ran backwards and sideways and in spirals that made her stomach revolt. She fell upward through curtains of reality that tore like wet paper. She landed hard on ground that felt like glass but looked like starlight. Above her spread an impossible sky. No, not a sky. A ceiling that contained entire galaxies swirling in patterns of creation and destruction. All around her grew mushrooms the size of ancient trees. They glowed with the same cyan light as Luminora. Their caps were blue and purple in colors that had no names in any human tongue. This was Etheresia, the world beyond the world, the place the sword had been whispering about all along. A figure emerged from behind one of the massive mushrooms. She was tall and terrible and beautiful in ways that made Seraphia's heart clench. Her skin shimmered like oil on water. Her eyes held the depth of the void between stars. She wore robes that seemed woven from the aurora itself. "You have brought Luminora home," the figure said. Her voice resonated through bone and soul. "After so many ages, after so much pain." Seraphia raised her blade defensively. "Who are you?" "I am Celestia," the being replied, "guardian of Etheresia, creator of Luminora, and I am the one who has been calling you through dreams and shadows for your entire cursed life." "Why?" The word tore from Seraphia's throat like a confession. "Because Luminora was forged from a fragment of this world," Celestia explained. "It was sent to Umbracia as a key, a way home for those brave enough or broken enough to find it. Your world is dying, Seraphia. Your 3 moons grow dimmer each year. Your sun has been dead for centuries. What you see in the sky is merely its ghost." Seraphia's hands trembled. "Then what do you want from me?" "I want you to make a choice." Celestia gestured to the landscape around them. "Stay here in Etheresia where there is light and life and possibility. Or take Luminora back to Umbracia and use its power to sustain your dying world for another 1,000 years. But know this, if you choose to return, the blade will consume you slowly. You will become the light source for your entire world. You will burn bright and beautiful and agonizing until nothing remains but the sword itself. And if I stay? Then Belladonna falls within the month. Everyone you have ever known dies in darkness. Your world ends, but you live. You live here among wonders beyond your imagination." The weight of eternity pressed down on Seraphia's shoulders. She looked at Luminora glowing in her hands. She thought of the old man with winter eyes. She thought of the merchants who never called her friend. She thought of a city built from stone and sorrow that somehow still stood. She thought of the shadows that had worn the faces of her mother and sister, the boy she had loved, all the ghosts that haunted her steps. "There is no real choice here," she said quietly. "There never was." Celestia's expression held something that might have been sadness,
Might have been respect. No, I suppose there was not.
Seraphia stood in the central plaza of Belladonna 3 days after returning from Abasora. The dungeon had collapsed behind her. No one would follow her path. No one would face that terrible choice again. In her hands, Luminora blazed brighter than it ever had before. Brighter than the 3 dying moons, brighter than the ghost sun. She drove the blade point first into the ancient fountain at the plaza's heart. The fountain that had run dry for 100 years. Water erupted from the stone. Not ordinary water, but liquid light that flowed in streams of cyan and gold. It spread through the city's ancient channels. It climbed the walls of buildings. It painted the sky with colors Umbracia had not seen in ages beyond counting. And Seraphia burned. Her body became translucent. Her red hair floated as if she were underwater. Her skin began to glow with the same light as Luminora. She felt her edges dissolving, felt herself becoming less flesh and more energy, less woman and more beacon. The old man with winter eyes approached. Others gathered around. They finally saw her, not as the Wanderer, not as the Red Death, but as Seraphia, who chose to burn so they might have light.
Why? Someone asked. The same question she had posed to Celestia. Seraphia smiled. It hurt to smile. Everything hurt now in ways that transcended mere physical pain. But she smiled anyway, because some truths could only be spoken with joy, even when that joy was wrapped in agony. Because someone must be the light, she said. Her voice already sounded distant, already sounded like it came from somewhere beyond the veil between worlds. Because I have spent my whole life wandering in darkness, let me at least end as dawn. Her body dissolved completely over the next hour. The crowd watched in silence, broken only by the sound of weeping. When the transformation completed, there stood Luminora alone in the fountain. But the blade was no longer merely a sword. It had become a pillar of light that reached from the deepest depths of the earth to the highest heights of the sky. And within that light, Seraphia's consciousness swirled eternal. She could see everything now. Every corner of Belladonna, every frightened child and grieving parent, every merchant counting coins, and every thief planning their next score. She saw the 3 moons grow brighter. She saw color return to the world in slow waves of blue and green and gold. She felt everything too. Every joy, every sorrow, every birth and death and moment between. It was too much and not enough. It was the price of salvation. It was the cost of love. In Etheresia, Celestia watched through her own means of distant seeing. A single tear of liquid starlight rolled down her shimmering cheek. "Well done, little warrior," she whispered across the gulf between worlds. "Well done."
1,000 years would pass before Luminora's light finally faded. 1,000 years of Seraphia burning in exquisite torment and terrible beauty. 1,000 years of her sacrifice sustaining a world that never truly knew her name. But in those 1,000 years, Umbracia would heal. The sun would reignite. Life would flourish again. And when the blade finally went dark, it would shatter into 1,000,000 fragments of cyan glass. Each fragment would plant itself in the earth, and from each would grow a tree unlike any other. Trees with leaves that glowed softly in the dark. Trees that sang Seraphia's song in voices only children could hear. The people of Belladonna would call them memory trees. They would gather under their branches to tell stories of the Red Wanderer who became light itself. They would not remember all the details correctly,
They would forget her name sometimes. They would argue about whether she was real or merely legend. But the trees would remember. The trees would always remember. And in their gentle cyan glow on the darkest nights, they would whisper the truth to anyone willing to listen. Seraphia the Wanderer had not died. She had transformed. She had become something greater than flesh, something eternal. She had become hope. In the shadow realm of Umbracia, where 3 moons now shine bright and true, there stands a forest of memory trees. And if you listen closely in the quiet hours before dawn, you can still hear them singing. They sing of a girl with crimson hair and a scarlet beret. They sing of Luminora, the blade of forgotten dreams. They sing of sacrifice and sorrow and the strange, terrible beauty of choosing to burn so others might see. They sing, they remember, they wait. And somewhere between Umbracia and Etheresia, in the spaces where worlds touch and reality bends, a consciousness that was once a warrior named Seraphia watches over the light she gave everything to create. She is content. She is in pain. She is both and neither. She is the dawn that never ends.